Everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Words, Images, and Worlds. I'm talking today with a master of words, a person whose work I've enjoyed for some time now, and this is author Kelly J. Baptist. Kelly, thank you for joining the podcast. And also, you have a lovely visual space as well for people that are enjoying the video version of this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jason, for the invitation and the flexibility to even make it happen. I'm very happy to be in conversation with you today.
Great. And thank you for your flexibility as well and for agreeing to be on. You and I were talking just a little bit before we started recording, talking about this love of books that we both have, and the journey of trying not to stockpile too many books. So that leads us into a little bit about the first question about your creative journey, your literacy journey, anything that you'd like to share along those lines.
Sure. Yeah, that is definitely a struggle that I have not mastered. Downsizing books is very hard to do. I've been accumulating them for years, and so um, I think that journey began when I was just a child, and I credit it to my parents reading to me. I remember nap time mainly. I don't remember too many bedtime stories, but nap time stories for sure. And what's very funny, I'm making connections even as you asked that, because I was going to share how I listen to audiobooks with my kids at bedtime. I'll put a Bluetooth speaker in the hallway. Everybody's in their room, door closed, but I can still play a story that way, and we'll get a few chapters in every night. And the connection that I just made in this moment is growing up. My sister and I had a record player in our room, and we play records at nighttime. So I remember um, Cinderella. I remember Alice in Wonderland. We had that on the record. Just all
Oh,
these different
nice.
stories, and so that's probably subconsciously why I now do that in the contemporary format of an audiobook. So always love books. Always love reading. It was just kind of a love at first sight thing or love at first experience thing. Going to the library and being able seeing the new releases, the new books, and just stacks and stacks, as many as I can carry in my arm, and to get them checked out and take them home and immediately go at it and then take them back and get more. This seemed like the most amazing experience ever, and it just connected with me at a young age. And I would say that's how it started, was reading and taking in a lot of content that way, and then feeling like, if words make me feel this way, could I use words to make somebody else feel this way? All right, I'm
Mm,
building it up inside of me. Now it has to come out in some way. Let me write something, and that's what started to happen. Notes, letters, poems. That's how I got my beginning.
yeah, yeah. Love that chain of inspiration.
Hmm.
And love the idea that's part of my story too of mom that read to me, family members that read. They're
Yeah.
so valuable. And yeah, did you have the baggy books? Do you ever remember those of the like little cassettes
Yep.
with like yep, yeah.
Yep. In the bags and the page turn sound when
Hmm.
you know when to turn the page. I remember that and listening for that. It'd be like a chime kind of sound and turn the page with the story. So yeah, cassette tapes. Did a lot of recording of my own stories. My sister and I would pretend we were newscasters, or we'd just be on there talking. And my parents still have these cassette tapes. Now you have to find something to play them on, but they still have some of these, and it would be real cool one Christmas or something just to break them out and just listen to us talk about all kind of senseless and wild things that we did, but it was entertaining and it kept us occupied for hours. So I'll tell my parents, "You're welcome. We really did a good job of staying out of your hair." And that was through words and just recording and reading, creating.
Yeah. So it sounds like your path to writing and creating for young people was pretty natural, pretty ingrained in a way. And um,
Yeah.
so from those words, what do you hope that readers take away from your books?
From my books, I definitely incorporate the theme of family probably in every story. Family, community, togetherness, interconnection. The challenge that I would give readers, young or adult, is to look at the person next to you and be willing to take the time to see the story behind the story. And to realize we do have a lot more in common than we think. We automatically will veer toward the differences, and point those out and highlight those. But I think it takes some maturity, and it takes curiosity really to see what do we have in common. So you and I just met. We've gone back and forth via email, but just met virtually face to face right now. But
Mhm.
already, we both wear glasses. We both have on
True.
headphones right now. You know what I'm saying? We both have book backgrounds. So already in a matter of minutes, we can start talking about things that we have in common. And given more time, more things would pop out. And those are building points. So that's what I would want readers to take away. Use the building points of your similarities. Celebrate the differences for sure. Recognize that we need them, for variety. We need them for growth and to learn. But we're not enemies. We shouldn't be, and we're actually more connected than we think. It's the connection in life is very real. And so that's what I would want readers to take away from reading my work.
And I mean, you joined a stream of stories. There are stories going back and back and back,
Mm,
all part of this human story.
absolutely.
And everybody has stories.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Love that. So the first book that I think I came across of yours, and then I kind of traveled back a little bit, was Ebb and Flow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big verse novel fan.
Yeah.
Love the way that those books come together. So curious about what inspired you to compose Ebb and Flow in that way.
I didn't set out to do that at all. When I have time and I'm not on any kind of deadline, I like to write with a notebook and a colorful pen. And I pick my character, I kind of assign them a color. Like, what do I feel is the essence of this character? What color would he or she be? And then the notebook has to match. Like, it's kind of one of those things, right? So
I love that. That's cool.
the
Yeah.
notebook has to match the feel, the theme of the story or the character, and the pen color does too. So once I have those things together, which I did for Ebb and Flow, I just kind of sat down, and when I started writing, you know how you're writing a sentence and you can go to the end of the line. I didn't. I stopped after 4 words, and I went to the next line, and I wrote something else, and I was just like, I don't even know, but I'm gonna let it kind of happen how it needs to happen. And then I was like, I think I'm writing this in verse. So then I started to get even more creative, and one word here and then one over here, and end it, and just kind of um, allow myself to be very creative in the process of writing it. And in doing that, the story flowed from me so beautifully. And that is no pun intended. I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
experienced that before, but it did. It just flowed. Every time I sat down with the notebook, I didn't have to stop and think, so what's going to happen next? What should I have happen? It was just there, and and I let it come out in the format that it needed to. And so it's probably the most fun that I've had writing a story in this format. So, or in general, just ever, most fun I've had.
I love how a verse novel just lets you get so close to a character. I mean, all
Yes.
stories do, but I mean, love that.
Yeah, it did. It let me get very close, and it was a great experience. So now it's like, okay, well, might be on to something different here. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Oh, well, and I love those for readers too. I love verse
Hmm.
novels for readers, and especially readers that think of poetry, in a particular way, that
Yeah.
have only seen poetry as one thing that's maybe older, maybe not as accessible, and it's so accessible, and just such an inviting form.
Yep, it is. And I learned a lot because growing up, I thought poetry it had to rhyme. So every poem I wrote, I was very meticulous about the rhyming scheme. And I sit there and think, okay, well, rhyme. Oh, yep, there it is. And the flow and the rhythm and the cadence of it, I was just very obsessed. with that, and then getting older and realizing, what, that doesn't rhyme. It's not a poem. Yes, it is. It's like, oh my goodness, what is this? So I think I learned a lot over time as well.
I love the creative method that you're talking about with choosing the color, choosing the. I'm a big notebook and journal fan
Oh yeah.
personally, so that's just such a cool thing. Where did that come up along the way in your creative journey? Just curious.
I am trying to think when I started. Probably before I was published. I was doing that because I remember with Isaiah Dunn and that series, I had selected a notebook for his character, and it's kind of like a cream colored notebook with gold dots all over it, gold polka dots, and I wrote it in a kind of like a gold pen, goldish brown
Oh, nice.
color for Isaiah, and I think that's probably when that started. I've had notebooks before and it'd just be a regular pen, but for that, I was just like, let me tap into him a little more. I like colorful. In college, I took my notes in two color pens. So
Mhm.
there was always the base color, and then if I'm writing word, it'd be the word in this color, definition in another color. And I always kind of took my notes that way in school. So it seemed like a natural transition to do that with writing novels is to pick a color and kind of use it. And with ebb and flow, I got to use two. So that
Yeah,
was very cool. It's like, okay, you're going to be this color, you're going to be this color. Um, and it helped me to stay in the mode of who the character was as I switched back and forth. So yeah, I would say
literally
before I was
picking up that
published,
pen.
yeah, picking up the pen, now I'm Ebb. So I have to, I'm channeling how she would feel. And then now I'm Flo. I got to get back into his head a little bit. So yeah, it's just a thing. And now it turned into something fun where I was just doing this um last weekend because I know I'm about to start something and I know the feel that I want for the notebook. And so I'm on Amazon and I'm just kind of, let's just see if I type in this, what will I get? And I'm getting all of these selections. So I'm asking my daughter, do you like this one? Do you like this one? What do you think? Da 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 da. And I ended up picking them, ordering them, and I'm thinking about pen color. So it has turned into a fun process um, of before we start the journey, these are the prereqs that I have to have in place. So yeah, a little quirky, but it's cool.
No, I love that. I love that. And I love that you are inviting your daughter into the process too
Absolutely.
to talk
Yeah.
about it. And I also
Yep.
love that I'm not the only person that peruses Amazon for notebooks.
No,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. If you're not out and you're like, but I need to see it, or you're pretty confident that a Target or a Walmart or Meyer, they have great notebooks, but for this it's very specific. And
mm,
so let me do a wide search.
mm.
And that's where Amazon comes in handy.
So you mentioned a character named Isaiah Dunn, and I think we
Mhm.
should for listeners who are not as familiar with Isaiah, anything that you would say to introduce them to Isaiah.
Yeah, he's a kid who has a lot to say, and that's why he ended up with the sequel, I suppose. But
Mhm.
Isaiah Dunn is a 10-year-old kid who first made his appearance in an anthology, Flying Lessons and Other Stories. And he made his way there because he told me his story. And I entered that story into a contest and it won. And then it got published. And then the question was, well, what else do you have? Would you consider continuing Isaiah's story? And at first I was like, no, I feel like the short story was it. But the funny thing is, he started off as a novel. I was maybe 50 pages into a novel back in 2011 and just kind of left it alone. Life happened, had some more kids, and so then finding out about this contest, I started writing a story to enter, and it wasn't clicking. It wasn't feeling right. So I kind of put that to the side and I'm like, do I have anything else? Then I thought back to the Beans and Rice Chronicles of Isaiah Dunn. And I was like, wonder if I could pull something from these 56 pages and use it as a short story. And that's what happened. So Isaiah has gone from a novel in progress to a short story, back to a novel. He's had quite a journey. But he's a 10-year-old kid who loves poetry, but has kind of lost his voice in writing when his father passes away. And what kind of brings that voice back is finding his dad's notebook and discovering his dad was a writer. His dad loved to write stories. His stories featured Isaiah as a superhero. So Isaiah is still able to connect to his father and really see himself in another light. Almost like this is what my father saw for me, or how he envisioned me. And he gained some confidence and courage to pick up the pen again. And that's kind of the story of Isaiah.
Love it. Love it. And I love Flying Lessons, the anthology.
Such a
Great.
great anthology,
Oh
man.
yeah. Great way to meet authors.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm also a superhero fan. So I love that aspect of the
sure.
story, and a poetry fan. So I love that
It's
aspect of
just
the
like
story.
everything in one, everything in one.
Yeah, yeah. So many good things baked in. So many
For
good
sure.
things. So I always like to ask as well about upcoming events, projects. I know you said you're getting ready to start a project, so I know that's
Hmm.
sort of at the bubbling phase,
Yeah,
the preheating the oven phase.
absolutely.
But
That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
anything that you're excited about sharing with listeners about? Of course, I will say again, Ebb and Flow, Isaiah Dunn, well worth checking out. Add them to school libraries, classroom libraries, anywhere there's a library or just a place to put a stack of books. Absolutely well worth it. But upcoming appearances or anything like that that you'd like to
Yeah,
mention?
sure, sure. So I have an upcoming novel in October. It's called Ready, Set, Dough, and it features Zoe Sparks. She's very spunky. She's 11. And this just came from experience of school fundraisers, being on the end of the kid where it's
Mhm.
like, Daddy, Mommy, can you take this to work and get me some sales? And then on the side as a parent, where my kids have been shoving these things to me and asking, can you ask your friends? Can you take it to work? This is like, oh my goodness, does anyone ever reach that grand prize number? It's
Mm.
always a wild prize at the top, a drone, Nintendo DS, a Switch, something real big at the top. But it's like 10,000 items that you would have to sell to get that. And the question just started formulating, does anyone ever do that? Does anyone ever come back with their form and it's 99 items? It's 200 items. Who does that? And then I thought about it. I was like, I'm going to have a kid do that because why not? So that's kind of the basis for that story. She's on a quest to get this laptop, which is the grand prize. And so she takes no prisoners. She takes no prisoners to sell this cookie dough. So that is Ready, Set, Dough, and that's out in October. And then my second picture book comes out next year. It's called The Band in Our Basement, and it's a rhyming picture book. I mentioned that before, how much I
Yes.
love
Yeah.
rhyme. So I got to explore that in this picture book of two kids who are supposed to be sleeping, but how can you sleep if there's a full band rehearsal going on in your basement? Wouldn't it be better to sneak down there and see what the adults are doing with all of this fantastic music? So that is out next year. So I'm very excited about those two projects. Always working on projects. Like I mentioned, the Notebook project is probably going to be another middle grade novel in verse. Um, I'm working on a YA novel
Nice,
right
nice,
now,
cool.
just, trying to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And just finished the screenplay just because I wanted to see, what would it be like to write one? Um, and just, we'll try my hand at that a little bit. But in terms of visits, you asked about that. I'm in New York. Actually, I don't know when you're going to air, but I'm in New York later this week. The New
I'll
York
put it
Public
on soon.
Library. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. The Schomburg Center. Be speaking to some students there. Then I'm going on vacation. Yay. Because
Congrats. Yes,
it's been
enjoy.
a very busy March and April. So I'll be able to be on vacation. And then I get to do a writing camp in June here in Michigan. So excited about that because it's been a dream to kind of be able to run a camp that's just as intense and focused as a sports camp would be, or
It's
a theater
cool.
camp or a music camp,
Yeah.
where's that intensity for a writer where like you're waking up and maybe you're doing some hand exercises. The end of the day you got to get your hand massage in, because
Hmm,
this is
hmm.
real. This is the business. So I'm excited about that. And then hopefully some breathing time for the rest of the summer.
Definitely. Those
Yeah,
times to refresh. Um,
absolutely. Looking forward to it.
I was in a writing camp when I was in middle school
I would have
and
loved
high
it.
school. Yeah,
Wow, I would
it
have
was
loved
my
it.
jam. No, it was
Yeah.
we didn't have a writer in residence or anything, but it
Okay.
was this cool idea that I think just a couple of English teachers that were local had put on. So I
Nice.
love that idea. And that's still
Yeah.
such a memory for me. So that's powerful,
Yes.
powerful
Yes.
work to do.
Yep.
So
I'm so
thank you for
excited
bringing
about
that
that.
into the world. Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's exciting.
if there's a website, we'll be sure and link it in the description um, with the writers camp if you have that. And I
Sure.
love the idea of getting to see the YA, the script.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love that you're exploring all of these creative avenues. And I didn't even
Yeah.
mention the picture books. Um, so I just love the creative flexibility. I thanked you at the beginning
Yep.
for your flexibility, but the creative flexibility as well. Love that. And the courage to try new things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where I am. I love literature. I love books. I love kids. And so I love the process. I love writing so much that whoever speaks to me in terms of a character, whether you're 8 or 18,
Mhm.
I'm going to sit down with your story and see if I can do it justice. So yeah, I think I'm approaching or already there in just a fearless kind of mentality of I'll try it. Might not be the best. It might not be what I ever do again, but I'm not afraid to try, and explore some new things.
Well, characters are in good hands with you from my experience reading on
Yay!
the page, and readers are too, by
That
consequence.
means a
So,
lot. That
yeah,
means a lot.
absolutely.
Yep. That's the
Absolutely.
goal.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you, but anything else that you want to share before we wrap the episode?
Be kind to each other. I love that.
Yes.
I love to
Always
say
a good
that.
thing.
Be kind to each other and use if you use my words to spark your own, that is the greatest honor that I could ever receive. If there's a young listener or someone who's like, man, I wish I could write. I've been wanting to write a book, but this, but that. I'm a single mom with 5 kids and made the transition to write full time. So it's possible. I say that so that someone else can be encouraged and know, man, obstacles might come in your way, but it's possible. So don't give up on yourself and start writing. Go get you a notebook and a
Yeah,
cool color pen.
absolutely. Love it.
Let's
Love it.
do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, much love for you. Much love for your story and your work.
Thank you, Jason.
And yeah, thank you so much.